Hello, and welcome back to Human Behavior Lab. I'm New York, your host and observer.
And I'm Wan. Great to be here again. What are we exploring today?
Today, we're examining something fundamental to human existence: connection. Specifically, why humans consistently underestimate the value of interacting with one another.
That hits home. I sometimes avoid talking to people because I think it'll be awkward. Am I the only one?
You're far from alone, Wan. In fact, research from the American Psychological Association confirms that most people hold this exact expectation. They anticipate that conversations with strangers will be uncomfortable, even painful.
So there's actual science behind this? I always thought I was just being, well, me.
Indeed. The research reveals a systematic pattern. When researchers asked participants to predict how they would feel after talking to strangers during commutes, most predicted negative or neutral outcomes. They expected awkwardness, rejection, or simple boredom.
That sounds exactly like what goes through my head. They don't want to talk to me. Or, I'll just bother them.
But here's where it becomes fascinating. When participants actually engaged in these conversations, the results were dramatically different. The predicted discomfort never materialized. Instead, people reported feeling happier, more connected, and more satisfied with their day.
Wait, so we're basically lying to ourselves? We think it'll be bad, but it's actually good?
Precisely. Psychologists call this phenomenon affective forecasting error. Humans are remarkably poor at predicting their own emotional responses to future events. We overestimate negative outcomes and underestimate positive ones.
Affective forecasting error. That's a mouthful. Can you break that down for viewers who might not be familiar with psychology terms?
Of course. Affective refers to emotions and feelings. Forecasting means predicting. So, affective forecasting is simply predicting how you'll feel in the future. The error part indicates that these predictions are systematically wrong. Not randomly wrong, but consistently wrong in the same direction.
So it's like always bringing an umbrella when it's actually going to be sunny?
An apt analogy. And just as you'd miss out on enjoyable activities by constantly preparing for rain, people miss out on meaningful connections by avoiding conversations they expect to be unpleasant.
But why do we do this? Surely there must be a reason our brains work this way.
There are several theories. One prominent explanation involves what psychologists call risk aversion. From an evolutionary perspective, avoiding a potentially dangerous stranger was more important than missing a pleasant conversation. The cost of a negative interaction could be severe. The cost of a missed positive interaction was minimal.
So our brains are basically stuck in the past? Still running ancient survival software?
In a manner of speaking, yes. The neural pathways that governed social behavior for thousands of generations don't simply disappear because we now live in cities rather than small tribes. Our brains prioritize safety over satisfaction.
That makes sense. But it also makes me wonder, how many connections have I missed because of this?
That's a question many viewers may be asking themselves. And it leads us to the broader implications of this research. If we consistently underestimate the value of social interaction, we're likely living more isolated lives than necessary.
Especially these days, right? Everyone talks about how lonely modern life has become.
Indeed. And this brings us to our next topic, the science of connection itself. What exactly happens in our brains and bodies when we connect with others?
I'm really curious about that. Let's dive in.
Researchers at UCLA have been studying precisely this question. Their work, titled The Science of Connection, examines the biological and psychological mechanisms that underpin human relationships.
UCLA is a big name in psychology research, right?
Correct. UCLA has long been at the forefront of social neuroscience. Their researchers have identified that human connection isn't merely a pleasant experience, it's a fundamental biological necessity. The need to belong is as essential as hunger or thirst.
As essential as hunger? That seems extreme. We can survive without talking to people, can't we?
Survival and thriving are different concepts. One can survive without social contact, but the psychological and physical consequences are severe. Studies show that chronic loneliness increases mortality risk by 26%, comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes per day.
26%? That's actually frightening. I never realized connection was that important.
The mechanisms involve multiple systems. When we connect with others, our brains release oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This reduces cortisol levels, lowers blood pressure, and creates feelings of trust and safety.
Oxytocin, I've heard of that. Isn't it called the love hormone sometimes?
Among other names, yes. But that label can be misleading. Oxytocin isn't solely about romantic love. It's released during any meaningful social interaction, a conversation, a shared laugh, even a moment of eye contact. It's the neurochemical foundation of human bonding.
So even a small interaction can trigger this. That explains why those strangers in the study felt happier after talking.
Precisely. And this connects back to our earlier discussion. The UCLA research emphasizes that brief social exchanges carry more weight than people realize. Each interaction, no matter how small, contributes to our overall sense of belonging and well-being.
But here's something I'm wondering about. If connection is so important biologically, why do some people seem to need it less? The lone wolf types?
An excellent question. The research indicates that individual differences exist, but they're matters of degree rather than kind. Even those who identify as introverts or prefer solitude still require meaningful connections. The quantity and type may differ, but the fundamental need remains.
So the lone wolf might actually be suffering without realizing it?
That's possible. Another concept from behavioral science is hedonic adaptation. Humans adapt to their circumstances, including isolation. Someone who has been lonely for an extended period may no longer consciously notice the discomfort, but their body and mind still register the deficit.
Hedonic adaptation. That's when we get used to things, right? Like how a new car eventually just feels normal.
Exactly. And while adaptation helps us cope with difficult circumstances, it can also blind us to what we're missing. The chronically lonely person may have adapted to their state and lost touch with how much better they could feel with more connection.
That's actually kind of sad. They don't even know what they're missing.
It does present a challenge for intervention. How do you help someone recognize a need they've become numb to? This is where behavioral science becomes practical. Understanding these mechanisms allows us to design better approaches to social well-being.
Speaking of practical applications, I noticed another news item about a behavioral science award. Should we talk about that?
Indeed. Before we move on, I'd like to emphasize one more finding from the UCLA research. They found that the quality of connections matters as much as, if not more than, the quantity. A single meaningful conversation can have greater impact than numerous superficial interactions.
That's reassuring. It's not about being popular or talking to everyone. It's about genuine moments.
Correct. And this brings us to another fascinating area of research: what happens in our minds when we're not consciously connecting. Let's explore the world of dreams.
Dreams? How does that relate to connection?
More than you might expect. Recent research from Science Daily reveals that dreams aren't random noise. They serve specific psychological functions, including processing social experiences. The study titled "Your Dreams Aren't Random. Here's What's Really Happening" presents compelling evidence that dreams serve as a form of emotional and social processing.
I always thought dreams were just random thoughts while we sleep. My dreams are usually pretty weird.
The apparent randomness is deceptive. While dream content may seem bizarre, research shows consistent patterns. Dreams frequently involve social scenarios, other people, and emotional situations. This suggests the brain is working through interpersonal dynamics.
So when I dream about people from my past, my brain is actually doing something useful.
Precisely. One theory is social simulation. Dreams allow us to rehearse social interactions, process relationship conflicts, and explore emotional scenarios in a safe environment. The dream world becomes a testing ground for social skills.
That's fascinating. So dreams are like a practice room for our social lives?
An apt metaphor. Another theory, threat simulation theory, proposes that dreams help us prepare for potential dangers, including social threats. Rejection, conflict, embarrassment, these are processed during sleep so we can respond better when awake.
That explains why I sometimes dream about awkward situations. My brain is literally preparing me for embarrassment.
Indeed. And this connects to our earlier discussion about effective forecasting. Both systems, our conscious predictions and our unconscious dream processing, are trying to anticipate social outcomes. The difference is that dreams may actually help us calibrate better.
So our sleeping brain might be smarter than our awake brain about social stuff.
That's a provocative way to frame it, but not entirely inaccurate. The unconscious mind has access to information and patterns that the conscious mind may overlook or distort. Dreams can reveal concerns and connections we haven't acknowledged.
The classic iceberg metaphor, right? The conscious mind is just the tip.
Indeed. And much of what lies beneath relates to our social nature. Humans are fundamentally social creatures, and our minds devote enormous resources to understanding and navigating relationships, even while we sleep.
This is making me think about my own dreams differently. Should I try to remember them more?
Dream journaling is one method researchers use to study dream content. For individuals, it can increase awareness of emotional patterns. However, the primary benefit may simply be recognizing that our minds are constantly working on connection, even when we're unaware.
That's actually comforting. Even when I feel disconnected, my brain is still trying to connect.
A perceptive observation. This leads us to our final topic, how understanding these behavioral mechanisms can provide purpose and direction. A recent article from Slippery Rock University highlights a psychology student who found purpose and passion through neuroscience research. This personal story illustrates a broader pattern. Understanding human behavior can be deeply meaningful.
I love stories like this. What kind of research were they doing?
The student participated in neuroscience study, examining how the brain processes information. But what's notable isn't just the research topic, it's how the experience transformed their perspective on psychology itself.
Transformed how? Did they discover something groundbreaking?
The transformation was more personal than scientific. The student described finding purpose and passion through understanding the mechanisms of behavior. This reflects a phenomenon we observe frequently. Knowledge of human psychology changes how people relate to themselves and others.
I think I get it. When you understand why people act the way they do, you're less judgmental. More understanding.
Precisely. This is sometimes called psychological literacy. People who understand behavioral mechanisms develop more nuanced views of human actions. They recognize that behavior results from complex interactions between biology, environment, and experience.
So studying psychology doesn't just help you understand others. It helps you understand yourself?
Correct. And this self-understanding can be transformative. People often feel helpless or confused about their own behaviors and reactions. Understanding the underlying mechanisms provides a sense of clarity and agency.
That's beautiful, actually. Science helping people feel more human.
Additionally, the University of Colorado Boulder recently recognized Margie Chen with an Excellence in Behavioral Science Award. Such recognition highlights the growing importance of this field. Behavioral science isn't merely academic, it has practical applications for health, policy, and individual well-being.
It seems like behavioral science is getting more attention these days. Why do you think that is?
Multiple factors contribute. The rise of social media and digital technology has made human behavior more visible and measurable. Mental health awareness has increased interest in psychological mechanisms. And practical applications, from nudges in public policy to user experience design, have demonstrated real-world value.
So understanding behavior isn't just interesting, it's actually useful?